Welcome to Vox Scream, a Kill Team podcast where we aim to help players of all skill levels supercharge their game and separate the signal from the noise. I'm Mark Meyer, joined by Kill Team heavyweights George Pratt and Joe Gallo. We're coming to you from the Triangle region in North Carolina. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. All right, y'all, welcome back to Vox Scream. We got another awesome episode lined up for you this week. We got Joe Gallo and George Pratt. What's going on, guys?
What's going on? Don't all of us talk at once?
Hello. Happy Olympics, everybody. Hope you're watching.
Oh, that is going on.
Yeah, I'm more of a Winter Olympics guy myself.
Yeah, I could see
that. I mean, France was already going through the Labor Olympics, so...
I will say Gojira performing was pretty great. I love Gojira. So France, band. I know France is so much cooler than we are sometimes, and it makes me both happy and sad because 25% of my blood is French.
Do they play Kill Team in France? Is that a big Kill Team hub?
Yes.
Yeah, they do actually.
Yeah, a couple of French players were at New York Open and at the Kill Team Open too. So yeah, they've come to do some American events.
Awesome.
Man, we need to do that. How fun would that be? We do a trip to a European Kill Team tournament, go to a Spanish one, and get absolutely swept up because the quality of players is that so much higher there apparently.
Yeah, I want to go to the World Team Champs that's going on in Belgium, but I'm currently poor, so I cannot afford plane tickets.
Yeah, that's, we put it in the pipe. It's a dream, right?
Yeah, it's on the bucket list. We'll get there.
Yeah, there's always next year, which, by the way, Nova ever approaches. Today is the 28th. We are officially at exactly a month away from Nova.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, you guys feeling ready? Mark, you going to Nova?
Yeah, I am going to Nova. Am I ready? It's tough to say. It'll be my first sort of like major event outside of the Triangle area.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I haven't played in any events outside of just our local events, and that one in Asheville I went to earlier this year. I'm just kind of trying to build on my local successes in Kill Team. And also, I just think everybody was talking about how much fun they had at Nova last year. It was very hard to say no to it this time, but if I have a great time, I'd love to go out and check out other, bigger events.
Oh, dude, it's great. You're going to have a great time. And I'm so glad you're doing the team tournament with me because that'll be a good preview into Saturday of like the quality of players to expect. It's a lot of fun. The team tournament is also just a lot of fun in general. It's going to be great.
Yeah, we got to find a dope name for our team.
Yeah, we do. I picked I forget when I had to do this, but I had a team for a different thing, and I just went with the villains just because I thought it was funny. Just because so often I feel like in the community I'm seen as quote unquote the villain, especially when I'm being introduced to people outside the community. Like, oh yeah, here's Joe. He usually does very well. Avoid him like the plague in the tournament. And I'm just like, okay. Yeah, no, I do okay. I haven't actually technically won a tournament amongst us in like a couple months, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you're only by the numbers the best player in our community when you look at the ELO.
I think it's just because I've played. It's because I've played in every league since I've started. Like, I feel like that's just because of volume of games, and I also happen to win. Like, for example, if Mark, won every single game from here on, I bet you he would pass me.
Yeah, probably. That is kind of how that works.
You know what? It is what it is. But anyways, briefly before we jump into our games, I wanted to talk a little bit about Tacoma that just happened. Was it 90 players or some crazy high number like that was there?
Yeah, 90.
That's unheard of for like an American event. So congratulations to them. That's fantastic. First off, and second off, the top 10 was particularly not particularly interesting in my opinion, but was like, I think, extremely indicative of the way things are right now. And the one thing that I like to point out is there was one elite team in the top 20, and now actually as I'm looking, there was two. We count Warp Coven as an elite team, right?
Yeah, it's elite-ish sometimes.
Elite adjacent. There is exactly 3 elite teams in the top 32. That to me is wild, considering one, how popular elite teams are, particularly how popular Nemesis Claw is, and the amount of elite teams that exist in the game that are all extremely popular. We have Legionnaire, we have Phobos, we have Nemesis Claw, Talons of the Emperor technically counts in that category as well. And yeah, the highest somebody got was, I believe, 13th. Was it 13th? Or no, it was
there's a lot of Warp Coven.
Yeah, I noticed that. Man, poor Warp Coven. You know, I don't I don't think the team is bad. I think they're a very good team, but the problem is they require near perfect play to not fuck up, and there are very few players that don't not make mistakes. So like for example, I would love to see like one of the top tier player, like top worlds players, take Warp Covenant to a high level event and see what happens. But they have a lot of fundamental weaknesses too. Like for example, the Zangors going to 9 wounds was fantastic and probably almost exactly what they needed. But at the end of the day, they're Zangors and they don't do much, and that's kind of a problem.
Yeah, they're just speed bumps. They just
Yeah.
go stand on points and slow down the opponent's melee dudes.
And then yeah, you have 3 crazy sorcerers, but like you have to squeeze every ounce of efficiency out of them, like you do with every elite team. And yeah, they're good at like being on the point sometimes, but like at the end of the day, yeah, they have defenses against like this heavy AP meta. But you know what? It doesn't really matter what your defenses are. If some Brood Brother Gunner gets real lucky, runs up on you, gets 4 hits, and oh no, that's a dead sorcerer. Now, over almost 50% of your entire efficiency on your team is now dead. You know,
Yeah,
it's
I played Warp Coven for a little bit after their buff in the last league. I don't think I ran 3 sorcerers in any of my games. I took 2 sorcerers, a gunner, and filled with Zangors. And that seemed to do a lot better than when I used to play with 3 sorcerers and just Zangors after that, even without a gunner. I find that Warp Coven sort of really, really rewards thinking outside the box and tailoring your specific on the kill zone team so specifically to your opponent and the board. Like, if some of those things are just not compatible, then Warp Coven's going to have a really hard time.
Yeah, that's crazy because it harkens back to this theme that we've seen emerge over the beginning episodes of our show, is just when you have to make decision after decision after decision in like a prolonged tournament environment, it does just kind of take a toll on you mentally. And when you're having to make extensive decisions at the start of each game just with like list building, it's hard, and it adds into what Joe's kind of getting at with, you really have to squeeze every ounce of efficiency out of those sorcerers, out of the gunner, and those bigger units. It's, when do you activate one over the other? Those kinds of questions, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, to be honest, there are a lot of teams that are similar in that way, that like you have to squeeze this efficiency out. All elite teams go under that. Blades of Cain are a great example of that, but we've seen, like I said, Joey Cruz got 4th with Blades of Cain. It's possible, but how many tiered like levels of players exist that can play at that level consistently? Like the Nova level, there's a handful of players I can count on my hands and fingers that can do that with a good team, never mind a team that we could probably consider mid.
Yeah, so what specifically about the US Tacoma Open did you want to talk about?
So specifically, honestly, for me, it's just the meta right now, right? So if we look at the top 5, we have Scouts, we have Wormblade, we have Commandos, we have Brood Brothers, we have Mandrakes. That 5 in particular, to me, is the best 5 teams in the game right now. I think amongst that pack, I think it's Brood Brothers is on top personally for me. And I think Mandrakes fall somewhere between 2nd and 3rd for me. Scouts probably fall 5th, and Wormblade is probably neck and neck with like another Horde team that I would probably go with, like maybe Blooded. And then you have like obviously your wild cards like Corsairs is in there randomly, right? But for me, I feel like we're 1 or 2 adjustments on teams to having the perfect meta. Like, I really think if we just tune Brood Brothers just a little bit down, if we tune Mandrakes just a little bit down, if we put scouts, give them 4 or 5 knives, maybe take away the extra body and give them the leader buff everyone's been asking for, they'll be fine. Just do that, and I think we'd have like just the perfect meta. Like, we're right on the cusp, which is ironic given we're about to potentially be going into another edition, and how I don't know if I would call this funny, but how ironic would it be if they did that adjustment and then fucked all of it up with the new edition to have just the touch of greatness in front of us, to have it ripped away from us in true GW fashion.
I mean, you said it. It'd be true GW fashion. That is what they do, especially in Big Hammer. But that game is so entrenched currently that they can get away with that. I think they realize that Kill Team is a really good game the way it is right now, and they're going to hold off on giant changes to the system and the teams until, I don't know, 3rd or 4th edition of Kill Team.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. But do you guys feel the way I do, like, that we're just on the cusp of a near perfect meta?
I think as far as any game that is asymmetrical goes, because Kill Team is not chess, it's not checkers, not everyone has the exact same pieces, the exact same rules. And so in any game with asymmetry, there will never be perfect balance. So given that statement, I think this is the closest to perfectly balanced meta that Kill Team could be at. Because even the top 2 Boogeyman teams of Brood Brothers and Mandrakes, they're still not like auto win button teams.
It's not Felgor. It's not
it's not Chaos Cultists. It's not released Chaos Cultists, where like a person who literally never played the game could plop down their Chaos Cultist team and just move up the board and be like, oh, I won. And like Brood Brothers, they lose. Mandrakes, they lose. Like, they can lose. It's much more about the player's skill on any team you're playing than it is about the team specifically. And yeah, I mean, some teams are harder to play. We just had a whole conversation about how Warp Coven is difficult to play. But, I mean, Warp Coven has won a couple of local tournaments and stuff. Like, even Warp Coven can hang up there. Like,
Scott won our league. Scott won our league last time.
Yeah, like I
mean, you can look at the bottom of like the faction list where it's, what is Kroot is the team that everybody shits on. They won a major tournament this month, didn't they?
Yeah. I don't remember which one it was, but yeah, like that's like the guy who plays Kroot that everyone on Discord is like, I mean, Kroot suck, but that guy makes them work. So like, do Kroot suck, or is maybe they don't play the game the way you think they play the game? Maybe it's just they play differently?
Oh, man, George, I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that for a very particular reason. What was the biggest team at Nova last year that everyone was playing? Commandos. Now, what's the funny thing about Commandos? They were exactly the way they were for how long before people discovered how broken they were?
Oh, no, they had an extra dude at that point.
I know, but still, even I'd argue in the state that they were, I'd argue that they were still very, very good.
Oh, and yeah. They were far and away probably the best team, even at that point, even without the buff, which is why that they had a couple of nerfs since then. And it's just...
But nobody was playing them.
There was a lot of new teams that come out. People like to do the new stuff.
I know, but I'm saying, like, they're pros, for example. None of the pros were playing. They were all playing Breachers. They were all playing... I'm trying to remember, because it was around that time. Legionnaire, I think it was probably there as well, because they still had their massive, like, minimum 2 damage nonsense. But my point is that I think, when you dedicated enough time to a team, and we had this discussion about Day and Hunterclade, right? When you dedicate enough time to a team, you start seeing things in that team that other people don't see just at a cursory glance, and you elevate the level of play for that team, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I love this game so much is that watching a dedicated specialist for a team go buck wild and, for example, like with Scott, go undefeated in the entire league in a team that I would probably determine in most players' hands to be mid, but in Scott's hands, as we saw, He went undefeated against, 10 players, and not 10 bad players, 10 pretty good to very good players.
Yeah, he beat me, he beat you. Mark, did you play him last league?
I did, and we tied.
Huh?
So undefeated still.
But that's my point, is like, and that's my biggest problem is for me as a player, is I don't focus down. Because I guarantee you, if I focus down, I would probably be near unstoppable with a certain team if I just focus down and start seeing those. I mean, I'll give you another example. When we were doing our game and you were doing full power cultist, George, you told me when I was playing Phobos, like I was playing him in a dimension that you hadn't seen them before, and you described them as
I described them as Harlequins in power armor.
Yeah, that was my
that's
point.
What it felt like. I was like, wow, this is cool.
But that's my point. Is like sometimes people who touch certain teams will see the game in a dimension that most people don't see them in, and that's a beautiful thing to watch. And I'm really hoping that's why we get very minimal changes going forward. Is there is a level of creativity in the 3D space that is Kill Team with the rules that we have to allow people to play in such different ways. I mean, I'll give you one last example before we jump into our games. The way I play Legionary and the way Mark plays Legionary are two extremely different play styles.
Even the way I play Legionary to the way you two play Legionary. We play very different Legionary teams.
And all three of us play in very, very well with them and do well with them. So that's, just something to consider. If you're ever... This goes into a recommendation I make for everybody. Play the team that you really like, both in lore and in gameplay wise. Don't worry about what other people tell you if they're good or they're bad and all this other nonsense. Find what you enjoy, and I guarantee you, if your fundamentals are good, you're going to find success with that team.
Yeah, and then the more you play it, the better you will be at the game and the team, and the more stuff you can see with the team. Yeah, so this week was week 3 of the leagues, and so I think it is Mark's turn to kick it off.
So the information for this week, we've got the map is number 7 Junction. The game type was open board, and the mission was loot. And my game played against Zach and his Exaction squad with my Gellerpox. And I gotta say, this is a matchup that I was pretty nervous about. This is a team that when I look at it on paper, it seems like they've got everything that would be just so good against Gellerpox. They've got shotguns that can fire into engagement range. I can't hide in engagement range. They've got guilt reveals itself, so I can't even hide behind heavy cover and be safe.
They've got shields that, parry 2 dice and always fight first.
Yeah, they have a lot of crazy stuff.
Mark, what does a Hulk truly fear? A Marine with a plasma gun, or just a little guy with a shield and a mace?
I'll tell you, I think the thing that my Hulks have feared the most is a Shredder and I don't remember, the Phalarch from the Corsairs coming up and double activating and just shooting so many AP2 weapons into a Hulk before they get a chance to activate.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
But it is pretty brutal. But I digress. So needless to say, I went into this with a healthy amount of fear. Zach made some pretty interesting moves, and honestly, I think he played an outstanding game. I did end up coming out on top. I think the final score was 18-12, somewhere in that range. I was so worried about the subductors because of just those things you said, George. Parrying, fighting first, all that sort of stuff. He took 3 of those. He also took a shield on his leader. He took the grenade launcher, which seems really good. What other stuff was really cool in his kit? Obviously, the Cyber Mastiff is neat. So let's get into the meat and potatoes here. He did a recon dash with his leader up the side of the board, and I was like, I don't really know what this guy's doing. And he won initiative. He decided to go first. He moved his leader up, and then he dropped the Nuncio Aquila token on the objective closest to my drop zone. So it was going to cost me an extra mission or an extra point to do mission actions on there. And so I ended up going down 3-2 on the first turn, which was brutal. I think I saw that when I was preparing for the game, and I just totally forgot about it.
Yeah, that's a really good play. That was smart.
It was an outstanding play. And then, his leader was concealed behind heavy cover. There was not really an opportunity for me to punish him for doing that. I was just behind. So first turn, obviously, I'm just kind of moving stuff up, getting staged. He was doing much the same. I think we went without bloodshed in the first turning point. So at the start of the second turn, I won initiative, and here is where things got pretty spicy. So Zach revealed his faction tac op. I believe it's called Seize or Incapacitation. Let's see what it's called.
Seize or Incapacitate. Pick one enemy, kill them, and then just hang out near the body.
Mm-hmm. And he made the 100% right choice to pick my Lumberghast, who is probably the only Hulk who can't do anything useful besides fighting. So he picked that. He also revealed Eliminate Guards, and he effectively turned my best offensive piece into a VP balloon. And I was like, okay, well, I have a choice to make. And the choice I made was, okay, let's fucking go. And so I charged the dog and a subductor with my Lumberghast, and it went basically about how I expected it would. He took his ploy for the rerolls in combat. I killed the dog, basically just one-shot it with the D3 mortals and just unblockable, like just a brutal hit on the first go. And then against the subductor, I rolled a hit and a crit, and I was feeling pretty good about that. He rolled 2 hits and 2 ones, and then he re-rolled a crit and just paired me out. And I felt really bad about that because I basically, again, moved this guy up hoping that I could get 2 kills, and I was just stuck in combat, and I was like, man, this is very bad. Other things of note that happened here. I lost 2 Hulks in the second turning point. I was down bad. I ran the Flesh Screamer up to get some kills, and he just took a bunch of shotgun fire. Took a crack grenade to the face.
Damn, that's some pretty good. Killing 2 Hulks in one turn, that's some good firepower.
Yeah, it was very good. Yeah, I'm very afraid of these P1 shotguns. They get they get the Cult Ambush reroll when they're within 4 inches, which he was pretty much every time. He did a very good job of staying outside of 2 inches to roll all of his dice, but being within 4 inches to reroll all of one number.
Yeah, so Cult Ambush only works on the melee dudes. For all the shooting, it's just balanced.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I mean, he was still very good at being within 4 inches.
Yeah. Get P1, hitting on 3s, balanced. It's a big chunk of damage.
The Tac Ops I picked for this game, so I took Tech Infect, I took Eliminate Guard, and then I took... What did I take for the third one? I think I took Robin Ransack. I got my Eliminate Guard target in the second turning point. He got 2 points, one for Seize or Incapacitate, one for Eliminate Guard. And going into the third turning point, I felt very bad. I lost 2 Hulks. He also won initiative in turning point 3. So I was like, this is starting to swing backwards. With initiative, he went after his Eliminate Guard target, which was a mutant who was on an objective. He went within 2 inches to try and ignore cover, doing so proccing Techno Curse, rolling 1 less dice, and that guy made it out with 3 wounds. Very, very fortunate. I rolled well enough there. And then I got to try my first carpet bombing play with the mutants. That was awesome. It's something that people have talked about to me for a while, and I haven't really tried because opportunity hasn't presented itself. And also I'm just kind of in the mindset of Hulk charge where, that sort of thing. But I just bombed 3 dudes and they took so many wounds.
Yeah, man. Fucking just toss 2 grenades on into the dark and just watch the lethal 5-up just roll in.
It was absolutely bonkers. I followed that up with a Volgar double kill, and that really just kind of swung the game in my favor at that point. When I'm thinking about some of the things in this game that like really stood out to me as just really interesting, I think the number one decision I made in that game that really kept me in the game was I had my Hulk split to where I had my Flesh Screamer and Volgar on the left side of the board, and then I had my Lumberghast on the right side of the board, and then I had my Bloat Spawn just kind of in the middle to go and basically back up either side. But my plan was ultimately to probably like push left with him. But after the second turning point, or rather at the end of the second turning point, my last activation was with the bloat spawn, and I was very tempted to just move him left and kind of give up that right flank because things were going very badly over there. But I pushed him over to the right, and at that point, he was able to really just kind of hold that side of the board down. He had his like season incapacitate token over there, and so the bloat spawn was basically able to just sit on top of it almost the entire rest of the game and just hold people in place and stay alive long enough for me to move a bunch of glitchlings and other mutants over there to just have enough APL to contest it at the end of the game. So that was one thing that I think felt a little bit not the sort of thing that I usually reflect on, but I think that if I had gone with my sort of initial instinct to just move him to the left and kind of overwhelm the left flank, I think I might have ultimately lost that game. Other things that really stood out to me. So I think the play is if you're Exaction squad and a Gellerpox person has not used Balut stockpile to shut off stun grenades, you should be taking a lot of stun grenades because a Hulk that's on 1 APL is not going to be doing very much.
Yep, stun Hulks are the way you beat Gellerpox. For anyone who can
stun
take
Hulks,
stun grenades.
And to that point too, I think the Weber is a really good choice of gunner because it's 5 shots, 3 up, 2/2, lethal 5, and stun. So if you're shooting that into engagement range, or rather if you're like in within 4 inches, or if you're close enough to get the shot off into a Hulk who is stuck in engagement range with somebody else, and you get that stun off, it's just going to be massive. I also, one thing that I've been thinking about in the wake of this game with the Exaction squad is I'm really interested to hear what players of the team think is like the ideal team comp because they just have so many more choices than I thought they ever did.
There is none. That is one of the most complicated teams to put together a general roster for, never mind putting models on the board. It's like Inquisition levels of complicated.
Yeah, I played Exaction for a little bit, and I couldn't tell you. The only people that I was like, these models need to go on the team are the Leash Master and the dog. And like, after that, it was like, what do I do? Who do I put?
What's your favorite operative on that team?
Oh, man, the Leash Master and the dog. Those things rock. If you can get them off and not get charged by a Hulk in one shot, like get the dog in, then just hit it with hit someone with mortal wounds so they can't run away, and then bring up the Leash Master right behind him and just shock him in the face. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I am fortunate that I won initiative in Turning Point 2 because otherwise that dog was definitely about to run up into a big cluster of like mutants and glitchlings and just absolutely wreak havoc on my side of the board.
Yeah. Yeah, double charge with the dog into mutants, glitchlings, eat the glitchlings for like 3 mortals, just kill one right out. Brutal.
I think one final thought for me on this game was we played on the WTC open board terrain, and I played a couple games. I played that game, and I also played against you, Joe, last Sunday with it, and I gotta say I like it. I really like all the heavy stuff. I like just the way it kind of changes the formula for drawing sightlines in the sense where I think we're all very used to playing on Octarius. The position I've had about this WTC terrain for a while is that it's similar enough to Octarius to feel similarly competitive, but different enough to feel unique and fresh.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about it too. It's definitely a lot of fun. I like the way it's set up. I like the way that it looks. I think it's a lot of fun. And I hope tournaments start using more of it.
Well, before we get into your game, Joe, like I said, you and I played a little bit last Sunday. We played Hearthkin versus Nemesis Claw. That was a pretty fun matchup.
That was great. Also, and George, before that, on the Sunday previous, I played you against Brood Brothers to a standstill.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I guess I'll this is actually a good segue into my game as well because I'm on what 6 or 7 ish games in a row with these guys or something like that. And Nemesis Claw, they're definitely the best elite team in the game. But unfortunately, they still struggle with the main core issue that all elite teams struggle with, in that it is 6 bodies. And unless you roll real hot on those prescience tokens against teams that out activate you, you are going to struggle. Um, Now, that is mitigated by mitigating factors, such as being on Into the Dark, as we showed on our game, George. If you were able to stay out of sight and be very targeted in where you go and get the kills you need and get the points you need, then yeah, you're probably going to be fine. Now, bear in mind, if it's another team that's a horde that's very good on Into the Dark, like Gellerpox, you're going to struggle. And I don't even think the best players in the game can get around that. And to kind of circle back to a point I made earlier, that's why you don't see the best players in the world taking that team or any elite team right now at a high level that is not exactly in Spain because they love their Phobos for some reason. And I don't know what you do about that from a design standpoint. So for example, in our game, Mark, you just have so many threats that just kill my guys outright. Even though you were rolling very poorly, you still came out on top because at the end of the day, there was nothing I could do to stop your onslaught there. Even though I thought I played very well, it just
you did, and you did win.
Or didn't you end up getting it?
No, you won by 1 point.
Did I win by? I thought you won by 1 point.
No, you won by 1 point.
Did I? Oh, I thought I lost that game. Never mind.
Yeah, you. I mean, you had said at the time.
I remember now. I'm thinking of a different game. Anyways, yes, okay, yeah, and I won that one. And here's that. Now I'm remembering. No, I won that game, and I straight up told you this after the game is because you rolled bad, and even with rerolls, and that's why I was not exactly huge on that win. Because had I not kept rolling hot on my Prussians, had I not kept hitting all of my attacks, and had you rolled just a little bit better, you would have won quite handily. And that's very frustrating for me as a player that, yes, while I did what I needed to do to get me to cross the finish line, that's great and all, but you start to realize when those other mitigating factors come up, you go like, oh, well, what do I do now? So to kind of tie that into my game, I lost my game this week by, I believe, 2 points. Yes, by 2 points against Trevor, who is a very good player, and he's probably the best Phobos player we have. And it was the opposite. There were two big things that happened that had they worked like they normally would, I would have won the game quite handily. The two primary things that happened was my leader was right near his assassinate target. I Vox screamed him. So I go, awesome. I'm hitting on 2s with a plasma pistol. He is on full count. I am very likely to kill him with this pistol. It should be fine. I roll 2 ones, and I get him to half.
Get wrecked.
So that got me 1 point on assassinate, and then my leader was immediately struck down. The other big play in that game was I had purposely moved with my skin thief to be just a little bit exposed and in charge range because I knew his reavers are not going to be able to do much to me because they're 3-4 now in fighting. Yeah, we both have 5 attacks, but I also had the CP in my pocket to give myself Relentless because they're Adeptus Astartes and Imperium, so I can give Relentless to literally anybody on the team. So I'm like, that's fine. I got the rerolls. It's fine. And as it so happened, I rolled 4 ones, picked all of them up and re-rolled them, feeling fantastic about myself. He then proceeded to roll 3 crits and 2 normals. And I didn't roll a single crit on 9 dice. So that is what led to my now what you would think best melee operative on the team next to the Screecher being alive now led to him being dead. Now, bear in mind, at this point, in the first turning point, I killed his sergeant. I'm feeling great about myself. I got him on prey sight, which was exactly my game plan. But even then, I had the plasma gun hitting on 3s with the Relentless in my pocket. I'm like, this should one-shot him no problem. No, it doesn't. So now I have to waste the crack grenade to kill him. I also had set it up to where I had taken initiative from him because he was going to run the mine guy up, score a point, and place the mine. I basically can't go near that point. But I took initiative because I picked the opposite scouting option to what I knew he would pick. And I ran up and I took the point away from him. And I'm like, once again, feeling really good because this is a very good matchup for Nemesis Claw. A very good matchup. Like I said, if for nothing else other than you get Relentless on literally anybody on the team once per turning point. So a lot of things ended up basically stacking up to where the game went to very much in my favor to very much not. A lot of it was outside of my control. But there's a giant asterisk on the end of this, because at the end of the game, I forgot he had one infiltrator still alive, and all you need is visibility for their ability to stun a guy effectively for a turn, or well, not stun, to delay an activation. So had I remembered that and not spent the CP, which I would not have spent the CP had I remembered this, I would have Vox braked the assassinate target. I would have killed him immediately, would have denied him 3 points, and would have gained, or probably 2 points, and would have gained me a point. I would have won the game by 2. So whatever people say about it, the dice not ruling in your favor, at the end of the day, if you can't bring the goods, so to speak, to the end, you're not going to win that game. And I wasn't necessarily tilted in that game either. I was more stunned that it kept happening, and I was more just laughing about it because it was just very funny to me at that point.
Yeah, man.
Now, bear in mind,
dice game be dice game.
And here's the thing: there were some other things that were hilarious in my favor. I threw the poison grenade, and I was able to get his. I believe his. I forget whether his if I outright killed his medic, or I got him to like a hilariously low amount. I believe I got him to like 4 wounds, and then followed up and got a double play. Which once again, you would think you just got a double play against Marines. How did you not win the game? Because it was Phobos and loot. They could just run around scoring any amount of points they want, and by that point, we were even bodies, and I don't have the free APL he does. Now, had it been a different mission, I probably would have won that game, even with everything that happened. But it wasn't, and it was loot, and it's their favored terrain, to use D&D terminology. Yeah, it's just I really like Nemesis Claw as a team. I do think I can play them to a high level, but I do think their elite teams will always hit a ceiling to a certain extent. There are very few people that can break that ceiling. I think Shane from Command Point is one of those people, but even then, he'll be the first one to tell you that there is a ceiling, right? Which has kind of led me the decision to kind of start refocusing onto scouts, because I have a beautifully painted team of 20 models that I haven't been using, for one. And 2, I think they're just good right now. And 3, I had already played a ton of scouts before they got buffed, so it kind of just melds there. So next week I'll be taking scouts into mandrakes on Into the Dark. But just kind of summarize my thoughts on that game. I'm not telling you not to play elite teams, because they can do very well, but just note that if you're going into a game against a horde, or against a team with a lot of toughness, or really any team that out activates you, there are going to be things outside of your control, even though you play the best to your ability. To the absolute best of your ability. If you roll 3 1s on those prescience tokens and it's a 14 or a 12 activation team, you're going to have a bad time. Because you can do everything in your power to mitigate the melt heading your way, or the plasma heading your way, or whatever nonsense AP weapon exists heading your way. For example, one of the best ways you can mitigate that is the Grizzly Trophy and Screecher Bubble, I like to call it, where you keep those guys within 3 inches of each other to kind of take away a shooting dice, or take away a fight dice, and make them hit one worse. It's a good way to mitigate damage, but at the end of the day, if they spike, it's not going to mean too much. I mean, 3 crits or whatever is still going to kill a Marine. And I know we say it's a quote-unquote, this is a dice game, right? But elites in particular, even when they have rerolls, get diced harder than everyone else in some ways.
Well, they just don't have a lot of rerolls. Even when they have rerolls, it's like, dice.
But Nemesis Claw is the exception to that rule. They have a lot more rerolls, comparatively speaking, to other elite teams, significantly so.
Only if you're facing Imperium teams.
Right, but there's a lot of Imperium teams. And my point is that even with that, especially since those teams really focus on killing when they need to kill, and if you just can't get the kills you need, you're going to lose. And that's just not the case with a lot of teams, because the extra bodies give you the room to miss, to whiff. Because whatever, my 12th guy, and I got a bunch of other guys doing whatever, right? So bear that in mind when you get invested into an elite team, and this even goes for things like Hyrotech. This even goes for teams, I would say, like Blades of Cain, that suffer in that activation game.
I will say that your Imperial Fist scouts do look immaculate. They're very nice.
I love my Imperial Fists. I am a Rogal Dorn in both brain and not necessarily body, but I will one day look like Rogal Dorn in both brain and body.
Gotta hit that gym.
That's what I'm doing, man. Swimming every day, getting healthier.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So this my league game was against Alex's Novitiates. We played on the Turning Point Tactics version 3 map of Junction, and that game was a pretty textbook Brood Brothers game. I went Eliminate Guards, Rob and Ransack, Militant Leadership. I took the Patriarch, and my game plan was just sort of conservatively push up the board so that I can project threat and board control, and so that I would be out of his engagement range on turn 2 unless he has to commit very hard. I just assumed my Patriarch would eat a crack on turn 1, which I paid him for embedded, but he took my opponent, Alex, did not measure his way to the objectives from his deployment zone, and so he actually struggled to get to the objectives on turn 1, which he only got to 2 of them, while I got to my home 3. So turn 1 went off without a hitch. Turn 2, I got initiative, and my opponent, Alex, got initiative, and he had 2 solid things to do. It was either get a flamer off on 3 dudes with the medic was in there and could revive someone, or charge his preceptor into my leader or my commander. But I put the Eliminate Guard on his preceptor in the hopes that he would take that bait and run away before my commander could charge and kill that sister, that novitiate. And he did end up doing that, so I took out the flamer threat to my grouped up dudes. And so basically from there, my Patriarch got into melee and just started eating people in melee as the Patriarch does. And then that was the left half of the board. The right half of the board was held down by my plasma gun, my grenade launcher, and my commander. And so whenever he tried to push up into my objectives or my territory, I always had a counter punch, or like the melta gun was up there at some point. So I always had a way to get rid of him from that position. And so my game ended, it was 21-9. So I scored 4 primary points every turn except turn 1, and kept Alex to 2 primaries every turn except turn 4, where he only scored 1. And then I maxed out on my TAC Ops, and he only scored 1 on Reconsecrate Ground and Protect Assets, and he never scored Secure Centerline. And it was just a pretty textbook, I got 12 meh bodies, but I'm going to be conservative until I'm going to throw myself at you. And that's pretty much what I did.
Yeah, I mean, the Flamer is such a huge threat to a Guardsman equivalent team like that, and so dealing with that threat early was a huge play for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the main mistakes that my opponent made was he didn't measure how to get to his objectives and how to be safe doing that. So he skipped out on a primary point on turn 1, and then he ran the Eliminate Guard target away instead of flaming like 2 or 3 dudes. But I had the medic there in that group who was not a valid target, so who would have revived someone. So even if that did happen, I wasn't super worried about it. It would have been annoying, but I wouldn't have lost the game on that.
I'm not sure if you mentioned this, but I'm interested to know what were your Brood Coven selections for this particular game,
I just took the Patriarch.
What was your thought process?
Yeah.
You took the Patriarch.
I took the Patriarch because Novitiates are terrible in melee, and as long as I can knock out the Flamers, they're kind of bad in shooting too. And I was able to knock out the Flamers by turn 2. I killed them both. And I just sort of waited on the Patriarch until his leader was out of position and just started charging the Patriarch around and eating people. And they just never got a shot off on him. I only took damage in melee.
brutal.
Yeah. And it's just like Joe was saying about the activation game, is that I leveraged my 12 activations to just sort of wait the Novitiates out on turn 1, and then on turn 2, I did everything I needed to do first, and then when I didn't have anything important to do, I did nonsense using my activation advantage to wait them out again.
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely like a textbook way to play a very big team. I definitely did some dirtling with my bugs and whatnot in my Gellerpox game. Joe, any thoughts?
No. I mean, honestly, like you said, it was just textbook Brood Brothers game. I think Novitiates do actually have the ability to beat Brood Brothers pretty handily if they're played very well. I think their 2 CP thing for being on points and being able to shoot can be massive if set up correctly.
Yep.
Their flamers can also be massive if once again set up correctly. And their plasma pistol too is the most reliable plasma pistol in the game, which can be used to take out the threat like the Patriarch. But the thing is you got to be kind of aggressive with her, and that's not exactly something Novitiates are used to doing. And even then, I'd argue not the Patriarch is not necessarily something you even want to engage with. I think you would rather focus on getting objectives, being good at the mission, and killing your little dweebs, because the dweebs are easier to kill than most things, especially with that 5-up save. I mean, hell, even an auto pistol can probably do it in the right circumstances, right?
Yeah, 7 wounds, 5-up save, even lasguns are dangerous. But like, I took militant leadership, which is deal 12 wounds and then survive with the Patriarch. So like, if you just don't engage and I just clean up a couple of models, now I've scored 2 points. So what are you gonna do? You gotta.
It's the best. It's the best distraction piece in the game. The Patriarch. It is a giant thing that you pretty much have to deal with, and it gets you off your game plan.
Yeah, I think it is the best distraction piece in the game. I think you don't play Brood Bros good until you stop using it as a distraction piece and start using it as part of your game plan, though.
Which you can very aggressively, I might add as well.
Yeah, which I don't use it as a distraction piece. But again, I don't really take it on open very much. I took it into Novitiates because they can't do anything about it except don't move up the board, in which, yeah, fine, whatever. I'll just score 4 primaries a turn and win. So.
And actually, on that point, George, did you hear Mr. Baki, who just took second in Tacoma, took the Patriarch 5 out of 6 games?
Yeah, I did. I was actually speaking with him on the Discords. That's one of the neat things about Brood Bros as a team, is that the Brood Coven choices aren't. There's no optimal choice. There's only the optimal for the way that you like to play the team. And so for me, on open, I think Magus is just the best. Just stun someone, or if someone's charged you or whatever, or if you charge someone who's activated, you can now mortal wounds them because it works in combat, and you can get line of sight stuff with Ruthless Coordination. And then, like, if the Magus isn't good into the thing, Patriarch probably is. I'll take the Patriarch, and I'm not super up on the Primus personally. The team has great tactical ploys, but I don't really take the Primus. I'm used to playing this team with the CP that the game gives me. So, like, I don't feel like the Primus is the best in slot, but that's just for my playstyle.
All right, guys. Well, anything else you want to hit on? I mean, we've got some fun matchups coming up next week. I know that I'm going into the dark with my Gellerpox. We're going up against Vetgar, playing against Nick. Try and get some revenge for you, George.
Not for nothing. I hope he wins. Just because I want the person who beat me to continue winning.
That's also fair. Who are you playing at this week, George?
I am playing Trevor.
So he's definitely playing Phobos Into the Dark.
Phobos Into the Dark. I am not sure how that game is going to go. It's going to be nuts.
I think you should have that one pretty handily. I mean, honestly, just do what you did against me, and I think you'll probably be fine.
In our game we played last Sunday was Brood Bros, Nemesis Claw on Into the Dark, and I took the Magus and Interference, and I just basically locked down both edges of the board as just like, that guy is -1 APL from the Magus, that guy is -1 APL from Interference, and it was super obnoxious. But it was still a tie because I did not respect Space Marines. I have 3 APL. I'm just going to walk onto that point and take it from you. So I could have won that game if I just, instead of debuffing you, I looted first. Which is like, all right, well, I got to loot or I'm going to lose. But that doesn't really work against Phobos because they just Vanguard every turn. It's like, oh no, I have 3 APL still.
Hear me out. Is it forces them to spend a CP to wipe out the APL modifications.
Oh yeah, and they can do that. Yeah, but I don't really care. I'm just gonna take the Patriarch and just punch him in the face.
Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the ultimate. I mean, ultimately, that's better.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm just gonna kill Phobos Marines. That's my plan.
Yeah, because I mean, the knives do. I mean, 4/5 is laughable into the Patriarch in some ways.
Yeah, like,
and it's
everyone else is 3/4 fists. The veteran is 3/5 knife. The Reavers are 4/5 knives. So like, he's only gonna take maybe 2 Reavers at most.
And you have what 10 activations after that?
11.
Is it
the Patriarch
so it's 12?
Twice. Yeah.
Oh right.
11 bodies. Patriarch activates twice.
Yep, because that makes it 12. Yep, that's oh god, so disgusting.
Yeah. So like, I've got a game plan. I played Eddie today before we recorded Brood Bros on Mandrakes on the same map, and my plan was to throw my Patriarch up the side and aggress on my opponent's room, and then sort of just wait there until turn 2 where the Patriarch opens the door and eats someone. Or I can throw a grenade in there because I did some math out. I can get a dynamite onto the entire objective in my opponent's room. So like, if they don't drop smoke...
You're talking about the actual dynamite or
dynamite.
Like the 2D?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Like I can get dynamite up there. And so...
That's crazy.
If my opponent doesn't drop smoke in that room, turn 1, whoever is on that objective is going to eat dynamite in the face.
Yeah, I'm playing Eddie and I'm taking scouts. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I think what I'm going to do is just stay the hell away from the walls, hold down my light barricades, pick one side to battle it out on. Make sure the tracker's on that side so I could ignore his stupid little smoke grenade. And then... yeah, I mean, 4/4 shotguns, 4/6 blades, you clean it up pretty heavily, to be honest. Taking a leader with chainsword, too. If I can get a double fight off, I think that'll pretty much be the game.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. We got a lot of high-intensity kill team action on the horizon for you. And I just got to say, a lot of fun as always, guys.
Always, always.
Yep, I can't wait for next week's games. They're going to be so good.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Vox Screen. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, or anywhere else you get your podcasts. Please follow, subscribe, and leave us a review. Any of those things are going to help us grow. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another episode.